Hello there, viewers. I don't usually upload serious videos or anything like that, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it a habit or what exactly this might be considered. But I tend to go on the spectrum of things people don't usually pay attention to, and one such thing being certain things to do with economics and religion and politics. I don't know if this, I guess this would be kind of like a rant. Yeah, rant. I feel like there's a lot of things people don't really understand in regard to these things, and it's not really anybody's fault in particular. Like, I was never told to pay attention to why money, degrades and wealth and etc. I was never taught any of that stuff in high school or given any reason to even care. Like what the hell do people care about in high school? But in regards to money and currency, in particular U.S. currency, right? Because I'm from the U.S., not from the U.K. or Europe or anything. So I'm not sure exactly how things work there, but basically, as far as I understand with currency, paper money, which let's see if we can get some paper money as an example, because in case there's somebody who's never seen paper money. Like, let's say we have $1 right here, right? And this dollar is just well, it's not paper exactly. I think it's like some kind of cotton thing or whatever, and that's why when it goes in the washing machine, it doesn't just rip up like paper does. I'm not exactly sure what the hell a dollar bill's made out of. I mean, if you know, feel free to comment. But as far as I know, and feel free to correct me, because I'm sure there's gonna be somebody who wants to correct me. This is worthless. This has no set value exactly, right? I mean, it's $1, and you might say to yourself, of course it has a set value, it's $1. But it's not that simple. And that's where the prices of things increasing comes into play. Because this will never be $1.25. This will never be $5. This will never be 20 cents, because this is $1. And yes, it has a label, and to some degree, that is its set value. That's why we have change, and we have bigger bills, and all that. But the way that it has no set value is in what you buy. The fact that the things you buy, their value change, that is how the value of this changes, right? Because if things get more expensive, then you need more of these to be able to buy it, right? And if you need more of these to buy something, that means they're worth less than they were before, right? And so that's how the price influences the value of the money, of the currency. But this itself, this is just fucking this is worthless, really. I mean, it's not really, it's nothing. It's a joke. It's a joke. And the fact that people spend their whole life trying to get more and more of this, to the point where some people just forget to fucking live, and you wonder why depression's so high and all that, and people need to be medicated all the goddamn time. But that's a subject for a whole other conversation. But this is a joke. What is this? This is a representation of something that is worth something. Well, what does it represent? It represents something that has been used as a currency probably as long as people have made currency. And what would that be? Well, I mean, gold and silver is usually a pretty good indication of wealth, right? I mean, you look at kings, no matter what culture it is, the Aztecs, the fucking Egyptians, whatever. What did they have a lot of? Well, the wealthy people had gold and silver, right? You have gold and silver coins. And that was their currency. That was their value. But, you know, do you want to carry around a freaking big carriage of gold and silver? Right? Or do you want to carry around something light? Something that's a representation of that wealth? It's kind of like an IOU. Like, hey, here is $1. Its value's backed by a currency that I don't have on me, but you can buy stuff with this. It's like an IOU. And here's where things get tricky, because you have banks, and banks come in, and banks are like, hey, you know, we have the value, you get the IOU note, you can buy stuff with it because it's backed by gold and silver, for example, right? So you can go buy food, or if you want a car, you know, go buy a car, right? If you want a new TV, whatever you want, you need money, right? I mean, I can't imagine going to like a grocery store and giving them like a gold coin and being like, hey, or giving them a freaking silver locket. They would look at you like, what are you doing? That's not money. Go sell that, get money, and then come to me. Which is kind of funny, really. But, I mean, it's because this is our established currency, right? This is something that is established. That's why some places you go to give them, like, Canadian money, they're going to look at you like, this is America. You don't give me Canadian money. Here's where things become a problem. There's the Federal Reserve Bank. Sounds pretty official. A lot of people would say, oh, what's wrong with that? Federal Reserve Bank, it's a federal institution, whatever. Well, the Federal Reserve Bank is a privately owned bank. Kind of weird, right? Why would they call themselves federal? Well, it's a bit of a facade, you know. It's a big long con. And these guys are pretty good con artists, because they have manufactured one of the biggest racketing institutions I can think of. I mean, you know, gambling aside, these guys have made it so that they gain all the goddamn time, and people don't look twice because they think, well, it's a part of the government, but it's not. It's privately owned. That's why if you were to go protest, I don't know if you remember, but a while ago some people protested a Federal Reserve building, and they called the police. Well, why would they call the police? If it's a Federal Reserve building and it's government owned, I mean, you should be able to protest there, right? You should have that right to protest, especially if you're protesting peacefully. Like, I'm not talking about a violent protest. I'm not talking about throwing bricks or whatever. But just voicing your concern about something, you know? Like if you were to go to a mayor's office and protest there, there's not a lot they can do, I don't think, because, you know, they're a government official, you know? They should be scrutinized when they fuck up. But they call the police because it's private property. Interesting. So it's privately owned, it's private property. They don't have to let people in there. Like, the president doesn't have to be let in. They can deny him access. They can deny anybody access because it's private property. They can have you removed by security. Or they can call the police, have you arrested, I guess, for trespassing. And why is that interesting? Well, because they can print money. Why is that bad, right? Why is it bad that a privately owned bank can print money? Well, then we get back to what this is. This is not gold and silver. This is not something of indisputable value. No, this is something that's value changes. But why does it change? Well, I don't know if you recall, but up on the top here, I don't know if you can see it very well, it says Federal Reserve Note. Why does it say Federal Reserve Note? These used to be United States notes. Now, what does that mean exactly? It meant that this was a representation of value, right? But it was a United States note, which meant it was printed by the United States, right? But now, pretty much every bill you find, I can almost guarantee you, is going to say Federal Reserve note. What happened to all the United States notes? They got taken out of circulation. How'd that happen? Why'd that happen? Okay, let me tell you a story about a fucking facade. Let's say I was the Federal Reserve Bank. Let's use small numbers as an example, just so everybody can kind of get a good idea of what's going on. Let's say I'm the Federal Reserve Bank. Bank of America or some other bank, whatever, decides they need a loan, right? Because they're giving out loans to people, you know, they're giving out free money, fucking, yeah, here you go, free money, pay us back. And that's a whole other fucking topic. But they need more money, right? For their credit cards and all that stuff to back up what they have. Because let's say everybody in like a city decided to take out all their money at once. That's another conversation that's going to be pretty fun, isn't it? What happens when everybody in a city decides to take out all their money from every bank at once? The bank's not going to have enough money. The bank's not going to have enough because they don't carry enough on hand. They don't just have everybody's money in there at once. And the whole concept, the whole reason why it works is because people don't all take out their money at once. But what if there was some kind of catastrophic fucking emergency and people just wanted their money right away? You don't get it. Like, maybe the people who get there before you get their money. But if they run out of money, they're just going to look at you like, well, you got to wait. You got to wait till we get more money in. Well, why does it say Federal Reserve? Because it was printed by the Federal Reserve. Because they were given the ability to print the U.S. currency. Kind of stupid to give a privately owned bank, some entity with its own interests, the ability to print the currency for the fucking country it lives in, or the country it exists in. I mean, it's not really a living organism, but it's kind of like a parasite. So, just like a good loan shark, right? The Federal Reserve says, "Oh, you need more money. Let me help you with that. We might not have the money on hand, or maybe we do. Whatever. Maybe we just want to print more fucking money. Fucking make it rain. Print more money." So instead of $1, right? Let's say they wanted to loan out $10. Okay? I'm gonna loan you out $10. However, you have to pay that $10 back to me, right? The $10 that I loan you out, you pay back to me. However, I want interest. It's not gonna be a lot, don't worry. Don't panic. It'll be a $2 interest. So instead of paying me back just the $10 I loaned you, you pay me back $12 and we're squared off. And you come back to me if you want me to loan you more money. Just like a good old loan shark. Here's the thing. Let's say they print out that $10. Well, that's free fucking money, right? What's wrong with that? You know? They print out that $10, 10 new dollar bills, printed out. And they loan that new money, that new $10 that wasn't in circulation before, they loan that out, and everything's cool. And then the people they loan it out to have to pay it back. But they have to pay back the interest. Well, they pay back the $10, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's still the $10 that got added into circulation, right? But they pay back the interest. Where does the interest come from? The interest comes from what was already in circulation. Are you starting to see the dilemma here? They pay back an interest that was already in circulation, which means now the Federal Reserve or whatever, it's now gotten 10 new dollars that they put into circulation themselves that didn't exist before. They got that money back, and they get an interest. That is like 120% fucking boost to whatever they had, right? They get the money and the interest. And so when enough of that happens, enough of the loaning out money and getting back interest happens, is it a surprise that basically all the money says Federal Reserve note now? It's because all the money that did say United States note, all the money that was printed by the United States, has been taken out of circulation. I'm gonna say through interest, right? That makes sense, doesn't it? These are just debt notes. You know what this is? This is, oh, well, the US owes this dollar to the fucking Federal Reserve. There's, there's something. And let's get back to the topic of how this thing has an inconsistent value. I tried to explain inflation to somebody before, and granted, I'm not a fucking professor. I'm not that smart of a guy, you know. I'll be the first to admit humility, you know, and be humble. But let's say you have a bottle of water. That bottle of water is valuable. That water is valuable. Let's say that water represents the value. The container the water's in is basically this dollar. It's a representation of the value, right? It represents the water. It's what the water is in. So you say to yourself, I want more bottles of water. I want more representation. I want more money in circulation. So you get another bottle and it's empty. So it has to be given value, right? So now you've poured half of the original bottle into the new bottle. Now you have $2, but the value's split among them, right? Because the water is split in two now. So now there's less water per bottle, less value per dollar. So if you were to go buy something with that water, using the bottle as a representation of the value, now you're going to need more bottles to buy the things that you used to buy with less bottles, because there's less water in the bottle. There's less value per the dollar. And that is why the price of things steadily increases over the years. Have you ever seen like a example of what things used to cost way back in the day and what they cost now? And you're like, that's crazy. Things used to cost like change. It used to cost that little. And then you look at the price of things now, and it's because, like, my entire generation, things have costed around that ballpark. And through generations, things have just steadily increased. They're never going to go back to costing fucking pennies on the dollar. They're never going to go back to costing change. I mean, there was a time, I think, when people were talking about how we should phase out the penny because it's just so inconsequential, right? And why is that? Because the price of things just goes up. And people wonder why. Oh, gas is high. Of course gas is high. You know, and people, they look at me and they say, you're crazy. Inflation doesn't work that way. That's not how things work. I mean, that seems like how things work. Does that make sense to you? It makes perfect fucking sense to me. And quite frankly, the debt that the country is in to the Federal Reserve Bank is like 100% fucking fraudulent. Because it's a racketeering. You know what I mean? Like, fucking loan sharks will loan you money. We'll print out more money. We'll depreciate the value of the currency and just make money off it while we do it. Not even gonna give you a courtesy reach around as we fuck you out of your money. Thanks. You might be asking yourself, well,